What would it take to make you follow a leader into a remote jungle, to leave your home, your family, and everything you owned? And what would it take for you to stay when leaving became impossible? On November 18, 1978, 918 Americans died in a jungle clearing in Guyana. In the decades since, history reduced these victims to a cruel punchline about drinking the Kool-Aid, a phrase that has become our shorthand for blind following. The victims at Jonestown were ordinary, community-minded citizens who desperately wanted to build an integrated, equitable society. The true tragedy of the People's Temple lies in how genuine human idealism was methodically weaponized and ultimately turned against the very people who held it. To understand the end, we have to look at 1950s Indiana. At the time, rigid racial segregation and pervasive tension defined every aspect of civic life. A young preacher named Jim Jones offered a radical alternative. In 1955, he founded the People's Temple as a fully integrated church that welcomed Black members and the poor, providing housing assistance and food programs when no one else would. During the turmoil of the civil rights movement, the temple's draw was powerful. It offered tangible social justice work, running drug rehabs and legal aid services for people marginalized by mainstream society. The People's Temple began as a legitimate sanctuary. We must acknowledge that history before we can understand how it ended in a jungle. By the 1970s, the temple had moved to California and gained immense social influence, eventually delivering enough votes to secure the favor of the state's highest-ranking politicians. Jones employed coercive control through incremental, nearly invisible concessions. It began with a 20% tithe, gradually escalating until members surrendered their entire paychecks. Demands finally reached the most intimate parts of life, severing family ties, signing over homes, and yielding custody of their children. People become trapped by making small, justifiable sacrifices for a cause they believe in. By the time the final demand is made, the exits have already been closed. Jones maintained his grip through manufactured paranoia. He staged fraudulent faith healings and faked attacks on the church, positioning himself as the congregation's only possible protector. He preached that the government was actively constructing concentration camps for people of color and that a fascist regime was coming to destroy the temple. In 1977, as media investigations loomed, Jones convinced hundreds of followers to flee to Guyana. He promised they were building a socialist utopia, free from American racism and government interference. The jungle settlement was a prison. Passports were confiscated. Letters and phone calls were censored, and armed guards patrolled the perimeter. Members were kept in a state of constant exhaustion through manual labor and all-night meetings. Jones had constructed a meticulously isolated environment where his voice was the only source of information. He had made leaving physically and psychologically impossible. Jones's drug use and paranoia reached a fever pitch in the jungle. He began initiating white nights, exhausting mass suicide rehearsals used to test loyalty and breed a sense of fatalistic numbness. The outside world finally arrived in November 1978, when Congressman Leo Ryan led a delegation to investigate rumors that people were being held in Jonestown against their will. During the visit, a small group of defectors approached the delegation, begging to leave. Their request shattered the illusion of a happy, unified community that Jones had tried to project. As the group attempted to board planes at the nearby airstrip, Jones's armed guards opened fire. They murdered Congressman Ryan, 3 journalists, and 1 of the fleeing temple members. With the illusion of total devotion cracked, and the murders of a U.S. official now inevitable, Jones chose mutual destruction over facing the legal consequences. The final hours in Jonestown reveal a mass murder executed within a tightly guarded, armed encampment. Jones used the children as the ultimate leverage. They were murdered first, deliberately extinguishing the parents' remaining will to resist or survive. For those who did not drink the cyanide willingly, the guards provided physical coercion. Survivors later reported that many were either forced or injected with the poison. These people were captives of a systemic, abusive architecture, Looking at the victims as fools allows us to ignore the mechanisms that kept them there. Jonestown stands as a grave, enduring warning that ordinary idealism can be fatally weaponized if control is surrendered one small, justifiable step at a time.